Hi everyone, today we're going to read a poem, but before we get started, we are going to go over some things you need to know about a poem. So a poem is a story or short story with words that usually rhyme. So I'm going to show you what that means. So the first word I want to look at is the word rhyme, because that's probably the thing you think of most when you think of poems. A rhyme is a word that makes the same end sound. So usually at the end of a poem or at the end of a line in a poem, they'll have two words that rhyme or have the same ending sound. So here's an example right here. The big black cat is asleep on my hat. Cat and hat have the same ending, so they're words that rhyme. We're going to focus on this word right here, repetition. In a poem, you will see repetition. That means something that happens over and over and over again. It repeats itself. So, like here, the words, I won, to show that the character is really excited about winning a game. They'll scream, I won, or there's repetition, says it over and over again. And the last one we have is the word metaphor. A metaphor it compares two things that are very different from each other. So our ship was a bird. The ship equals a bird. So the ship really wasn't a bird. It just means that it was moving quickly like a bird. We're going to read the story called Captain's Log. So this is actually a poem, and it is actually written like it's a poem and in a journal entry. So a journal is when someone writes down things that happened to them. So this takes place on May 12th, 1867. So that was almost 150 years ago, over 150 years ago. When we are reading, I want you to look for words that rhyme. They have the same ending. Spain and rain have the same ending. Blue and flew have the same ending, even though they're spelled differently. I also want you to think of something we call the theme of the story or the message of the story. So is there anything that we can learn from the poem that we're reading? When I read that, I want you to think about anything we can learn from the poem we're reading. Captain's Log, May 12, 1868. We set sail from a port in Spain. Sun high, no sign of rain. The sea was satin, so blue, so blue. Here's some repetition. Our ship was a bird. We flew, we flew. It means that it's a very nice day outside. They're sailing their ship and there are no problems. Clear blue skies, everything is good. Just past noon, how very weird, came a sound that we most feared. Thunder rumbled, a giant drum. Thunder rumbled, rum-tum-tum. So this sounds like the thunder is rumbling, or you can hear a storm is coming. And they're telling us what it sounds like when they say rum-tum-tum. It sounds very loud and scary. Rain was pouring, pouring. The wind was a monster, roaring, roaring. My crew, extremely terrified, froze at their posts, pale and wide-eyed. That means they were very scared. Terrified and scared mean the same thing. They're wide-eyed and showing that they're scared. A huge wave lifted up our ship. My feet began to slip, slip, slip. I knew that it was up to me to guide us through that stormy sea. I grabbed a rope, reached for the mast, and got back to the helm at last. Shook off the rain, looked at my crew. Steady, lads, I'll get us through. Lads are another name for boys or men. The crew heard my call. Each lad stood up tall. All hands now on deck. We trimmed every sail. That means everyone started to work. Courageous together, we rode out the gale. That means that they worked together to fight the storm and sail their ship. The day started out sunny, then around noon, The wind picked up from the south. A little later, there was a fierce thunderstorm. That's a journal entry from